Hello, Master Manifestors. Happy Valentine's Day. This is MethodMuse, where we talk about science based manifestation methods. And today we're doing something very special because my husband is joining us, and this is our 20th Valentine's Day together. 20th, right? Not 21?
It is 20.
20th Valentine's Day together. Awesome. So, we're going to be talking about some of the things that we've learned through our relationship and maybe a little bit about how we got together and how we knew that we wanted to be together. But the main three things we're going to be talking about today is number one, communication and connection, how to keep that going and how to communicate right. Number two, appreciation and gratitude, how to have daily acts of love. And number three, in my heart, one of the most important, boundaries and alignment, how to set boundaries and how to know when you're aligned with someone and what alignment looks like. So, we're going to get started. And I'm going to go ahead and let my husband say a few words and see what he thinks about this. Now, I just want to comment that I am a master manifester. I consciously manifest all the time. He gets to watch me do it. He is not really into manifestation, although we all manifest all the time, of course. He is more of an observer of my shenanigans. He's not really participating in that aspect. So you get a dual view, which I think is wonderful. So here he is.
So, yeah, I don't really follow the whole structure that she does, but I do get to witness it. It is an interesting thing to watch from the outside. Uh, but as she was saying, the first thing in a long lasting relationship is going to be communication and connection. So, main thing to think of communication is definitely number one in a long lasting relationship. If there's no communication, it's not going to work out. You need to just talk through everything. If somebody's feeling bad or anything else, don't try to say it's all okay and ignore it. Let it out. Talk to each other. Sometimes the other person can offer some insight that you may not personally have yourself. So that'll get you thinking and hopefully, get into a different headspace and kind of pull you back into reality.
Yeah, I think that's really like an important part of alignment too. I know we're kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but communication and alignment really go together because being aligned in your communication styles and your values, I think, is one of the biggest predictors of success in a long term relationship. Like really knowing that you have the same, sort of not generally goals in life. Like you might want to do different things and you can compromise on those things, but the outline, the basic foundation of what you value and what is important to you is really, what starts to create that equilibrium between the shared goals and the shared vision of what your life will be together because you don't have this combined life. You're not one person, you're two people living your lives in tandem and you're supporting each other and being there for each other and interacting with each other while your separate lives are going on. You're still just you, and I think that's a really important thing about retaining your individuality. What do you think about that?
No, absolutely. It is. You need to maintain individuality, but there has to be some degree of things that are alike and dislike. If everything is completely dislike, it's a train wreck in the works. Plain and simple. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you're totally going to clash.
There has to be some things that are aligned completely, where other things may not be quite so aligned. That's fine. Uh, but communication on those likes and differences need to be clearly stated. If they're not, then again, it's a train wreck, right, waiting to happen.
Clearly stated is the key here. And this is the tricky part because relationships are skill based. It doesn't matter if you manifest them, you can manifest the skills, sure, but we're in a causal universe. X plus Y equals Z, whatever, you're going to have to learn some things or at least adjust to new situations if you're going to manifest lasting love and you haven't been in it before. You're going to have to sacrifice that idea of complaining all the time And honestly, I love complaining. I'm a big advocate of complaining about stupid nonsense because I hate stupid shit. Like I'll get annoyed. Like I love it, but I hate it. And I love to hate it. And I'm okay with that about myself. Okay. So I understand that I'm getting a dopamine hit. And sometimes when I say dopamine, I'm actually talking about any kind of feel good hormone that your brain's giving you. But most people recognize the word dopamine. So sometimes you're getting that dopamine hit from complaining about something like your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend or not having one, that complaining becomes a habit and becomes a self-reinforcing, this is my identity now, and you really need to be careful of that because that starts leaking out into your communication style.
Yeah,
Have you
absolutely. If your first reaction for anything when you get upset is to aim it directly at the other person, not where it should be aimed, that's already going to be a problem.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, if you're in bad traffic and people are driving stupid someplace, don't take it out on your partner
I know
because
you
the
get
other
that, like,
people
every single day almost.
every day. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Um, but don't take it out. Don't aim it at you, your significant other in any way or anything. It's not your fault the traffic is dumb or somebody's acting stupid out in public someplace. You know, kind of throw it out to the wind and see what happens. But yeah, if there's a problem, don't just aim anything directly at the other person because that's not going to help either one of you. Both of you are going to feel bad in the end.
Yeah, I think that really goes along with fighting right, you know, and understanding your own patterns and understanding that the other person isn't there for your self-regulation. Now we're gonna, kind of skip ahead to the boundaries part on the communication level. And you see how I sort of bounce around on these topics, but that's because they're all interconnected. All of this stuff works together. It's a system. You are a system by yourself. They are a system by themselves. When you combine, you are creating a new system. And to make it coherent, you need to work together because you don't know everything about their system and they don't know everything about yours. You're just getting a surface level interaction. So if you're in a difficult state, you can't expect them to fix it. This is not something that you get in a relationship to fix. That's not what relationships are for. It makes me think of that unicorn episode from Bite Sized Halloween when he's like, no, 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 I did not consent to fixing your relationship. Okay, that's the same thing. People do not consent to fixing your relationship with yourself. Okay, so you don't need to be trying to abandon yourself to go think somebody's going to rescue you like a white knight. Doesn't matter whether they're male or female. They're not here to rescue you. They're here to be a companion to your life, a witness, and you a witness of theirs. You have separate lives living in tandem. So, what I do, or what I try to do most of the time, if I'm having a bad day and I know I'm in a bad state, I'll say something like, I'm processing right now. If I notice it, sometimes I don't always 100% realize it at first. And then I'm like, oh, my body's like all tight and tense and I'm being kind of snippy, and I love this person. And why am I acting that way? So, I'll pause and I'm like, okay, let them know I'm processing, that it's nothing to do with what they're doing, that I'm dealing with something within myself. And then they can respond to that and understand that it's not something, and that's part of the problem is our presets of associations, that if something is wrong, it must mean something bad about us. No, it's just that the system is having an error and it just needs a minute to recover.
Right. And, when we let if somebody lets you know, hey, I'm going through something at the moment, that's time to kind of, if you like to joke around with each other, back off the jokes a little bit, be supportive for a few minutes,
I love the joking.
and make sure that,
There's a time period.
everything is okay before you start pulling out jokes. Otherwise, you're just going to upset the other person even more. And then it really will become aimed at, you.
Well, that's the thing too. I think a lot of people, they don't intend to do it, but they take offense. Like something's going wrong and I'm trying so hard to make this relationship work, so it must be my fault that something bad is happening. But you have to understand this is just a causal situation. X plus Y equals Z. Something happened which caused something else to happen. How about something just as simple as our hormones are surging because we haven't had enough sleep? Something so simple could be the problem. We don't need to associate that the problem is our lack of ability to do something or some lacking in us?
You're right. It could be, lack of sleep, overworked, overstressed, a multitude of things. It just depends on your personal life and how your work life and everything goes. Some people have nice steady schedules. People have very bouncy schedules that, one day they're in early and another day they might be late. That's one of those things that needs to be worked out. Definitely make sure that you're taking time with each other on that part just to make sure, that connection stays. That way you don't have anybody, feeling a lack of anything. You don't want there to be a lack of love or any sort of communication of any kind just because, you've worked all day, now you're tired. It takes 10 minutes just to, if that, just to, talk to each other and, do a checkup, just make sure everything's good.
And I think the biggest thing, like if you and I get into anything, and believe me, after 20 years, we've seen just about everything you can get into with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we've really gotten into some things, but we always work it out because we always have this mindset of we're going to work it out. We're going to figure this out. It's just a system adjustment. We're miscommunicating. That's okay. It's okay. You're going to miscommunicate sometimes. That's 100% going to happen. You need to understand that system errors are going to happen. And the idea is maintenance, not like trying to stop it from happening. Actually, trying to stop it even makes it worse because it puts more pressure and stress on you and puts more stress on the other person. So, you need to understand that when things go wrong, it's okay. You have a protocol of communication and you should work on that together. I don't want you to use ours. We have ours that we built together through us, and you need to build one through whoever you're with. You build the communication system with them. You both have input to it. You both express what is most important to you about it. And then you have rituals that reinforce that connection that you do every day. Like, what are some of our rituals? Like, I say I love you like all the time.
It could be saying I love you. It could just be, a hug and a kiss at any random time, just acknowledging each other, on a regular basis and definitely, you know, talk to each other. Tell each other why you love them or why, you appreciate them, what it is you appreciate about each other. It could be something as simple as, hey, I appreciate that you cooked dinner for me, or hey, cleaned the, you washed the dishes or something out of normal. Any little thing, just, and don't throw it at the person like, as though they don't notice. Hopefully they notice what you're doing and they see it for what it is. Don't throw it at them like it's a big achievement or something to brag about, like, oh, I did this, so it should be acknowledged. It should be done just because you want to do it, not to look for that recognition or anything else. But it shows quietly in its own way what, the appreciation for the other person, saying, hey, I'm going to take care of this so this person doesn't have to for this one time, or, maybe periodically. Either way, it's not about getting bragging rights. It's about, doing something just to show that you appreciate the other person in any way, shape, or form.
That's right. Don't bother with those vanity metrics. They're worthless. Worthless. They're cute. They do nothing.
They could cause more problems than it's
They
gonna be
really
worth.
can. Seriously. I think gets you all egoically involved in vanity metrics and you're like, oh my God, that's my value. No, 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 no. No, no, no. That's not it. So, and I love that you get, you just, I love that you get it. And I said that, I know that I say that a lot. I love that you get me and I love that you get it. And that's alignment. Like that's where you feel like the person understands what you're saying. And you still need to practice. I mean, it's not like, it's going to be perfect every time and every day is going to be a little bit different. Your state's going to be different every day. Just, slight adjustments as you move through your story, but you're moving through the story together. Just keep in mind that you're running two separate stories at the same time together, and you need to make those cohesive and understand you can't just assume other things of the other person or just assign them roles and not say anything about it. So I think making the point every day of communicating and touching base and at least talking about, hey, what's your state like today? How do you think that I say that to you? I know that I do it in some ways, but I'm not really 100% sure how I ask you how your state is doing.
I mean, it's just asking me how I'm doing when, say, if I'm at work and having, one of those odd days where it may be a little more challenging than others. Just say, hey, what's going on? Hopefully it gets better than it is, but It's just making sure that you remind me. Don't stress over it. Don't let it take over my day. Just take it one bit at a time, and it'll be fine. And that's actually the best way to do it.
That's the thing. Everything works out eventually. You just gotta breathe till all the rough stuff is over.
Yeah, exactly.
And understand that no matter what the situation is, whether you're rich or poor or black or white or whatever the situation is, there's a million stories going on. There's a million mental stories going on, countless ones, really. And, to understand that all of them are valuable and to find the value is leading us into part two, the appreciation and gratitude aspect, which I think is so important and so missing from a lot of things. I think people have better boundaries than they have the appreciation and gratitude thing.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Appreciation and gratitude. You've got to communicate that with each other as well. Um, if because if one person doesn't notice anything and they never hear anything about how much somebody appreciates them or otherwise, that's going to create a sour taste in their mouth, and it's going to kill a relationship really quick. Um, Even if it's little things, big things, little things doesn't matter. Voice that you see that what somebody's doing, and take it for what it. Don't try to ask if it's it because they want something out of you that they did something a little extra. Sometimes they're just trying to show a little gratitude or show some appreciation. If even if it seems out of the ordinary from what's normally going on, don't try to dissect it to the point of you've pissed yourself off over the smallest thing. Really pay attention to just the outlying part of it. Hey, they did something a little bit different. Thank you. That's all it takes. A little thank you. Uh, don't have to dissect and ask why or what's going on. Anything else, or automatically jump to conclusions that something is wrong, because it's not. It's sometimes somebody wants to do a little something extra just to say, "Hey, I appreciate you. I see what you're doing, and this is my way of showing it." Especially if it's something maybe not normal. I mean, if I got my wife flowers one day, she would probably look at me kind of funny at first, but she would not automatically assume I did something to screw up in life. It would just be going, "Oh, well, he's showing me he appreciates me more than normal."
Nah, I'd definitely just be excited. You'd be like, "Oh, gift."
Right, because it's not something I would normally do. But it's not something I would do because I messed up. If I messed up, I'm going to tell you, "Hey, I messed up. Maybe I'll burn the
I
house
can
down."
see how you would think, like, some people, the flowers thing would represent, like, "Oh, you messed up. Oh, you screwed up." No, I just they say flowers and like, "Oh, flowers."
Yeah, sometimes it's some little things like that that just kind of give a different idea, saying, "Hey, I know I don't do this very often, but I want you to know today I appreciate you more than ever, and I'm going to show it in some way." Doesn't mean somebody messed up. It's just a way of saying, showing that you're paying attention to that person really well, and you appreciate what they do, whether you say it or not, on a regular basis. We try to say it on a regular basis at least because then
We're
it keeps
we're pretty, like,
communication.
lovey-dovey. We'll make people sick, for serious, like, I'm a very, I like to verbalize a lot. I'm a words kind of love language person. And, I guess it's because 'cause I'm a writer, but I'm also a touch and huggy and kissy. But not everybody is like that, and it's important to, you know, respect people's boundaries on that kind of thing because I have known people who just didn't wanna be hugged and kissed that much. They're like, "Okay, stop touching my body so much," and that's okay. That's totally okay. But that's where you need to find that alignment too and recognize that you have different love languages, that you have different boundaries, and it's okay to be different. In fact, it's good because it gives you, that exploration of another person, like you were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you can, explore these new ideas with them, these new states that you could have never accessed without knowing it from their perspective. But also, when you're doing things for each other, for showing appreciation, gratitude, don't assume they're going to do the same things that you do to show appreciation, gratitude. I I feel personally from what has worked for us that if I am choosing the ways that I show you gratitude and you respond to that, that feels much better than you telling me how to show you gratitude. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely makes sense. If you have to tell somebody how to show gratitude, then it's not good. You shouldn't have to be told. Nobody should have to be told how to show gratitude. Just an act, any act that's maybe a little out of the ordinary takes pressure off of somebody else. So, like I said, it could be something as simple as maybe somebody cooks dinner one night that doesn't normally cook dinner, or somebody does the dishes that doesn't normally do dishes. So, I mean, maybe getting up and just making the bed for the other person when they don't expect it. It could be little things. It could also be bigger things. Hey, we're going out to eat tonight for just because. So it doesn't have to be measured by how big or little it is entirely. It's just showing that the effort is there. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think that really is it too, and that shared joy, that shared playfulness. Like, you and I play a lot, like, we joke a lot. We're like
Oh
we
yeah.
have the sickest sense of humor, it's so funny. Like, we're definitely gonna end up, doing some podcasts where we just really go off and you get to see how crazy and twisted we really are. But we're also, like, real with each other, and that's important too. A relationship is not a performance. You need to be real about who you are, not trying to be what you think somebody else wants you to be. I think that's like, I forget who said it, but it's like, I am who I think you think I am,
Yeah.
and where people try to perform to other people's expectations. And it's very common. It's a very common program. Don't feel bad if you do it. Everybody does it to some degree or another. We all fulfill those expectations of our roles to some degree in our characters, but it's very important to be mindful of it and to notice it. And I think that noticing also of the gratitude and the appreciation and acknowledging and saying, I really appreciate that you appreciated me in this way. And it becomes this wheel of appreciation and gratitude and loving, and you start to push out all those little things of nitpicking, oh my gosh, they left their shoes in the hall, or whatever it is that irritated you in the moment that you felt you had to bring to them to bring up something negative in your relationship, and you don't see it in the moment as negative. You sort of react to it because your system protocol said, okay, if something A happens, then do B, and it's a preset, and you have to interrupt it and say, no, I appreciate my partner, and that's my primary value. I appreciate my partner, and that's my primary value. And you really need to be solid on values like that, because if you made that the main protocol and you're unconscious, the rest of the presets will follow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're going out looking for something that upsets you about the other person, it's already a bad thing. Um, there might be little nitpicky things here and other people could do that would, normally kind of frustrate you. But if you take a step back for just a second and say, okay, they did this, but they're doing all this other stuff, it'll counteract itself. And then you're like, okay, well, that little thing isn't really that bad. It's just something to nitpick on for 5 seconds, but it's not going to make or break my day. And then you move past it. I always try to think about the good. And as far as, shared joy, playfulness, and fun. If you can't have fun, play with each other, joke with each other, or anything like that, then there's something already wrong. You should be able to joke around.
I am all about the fun and manifestation because I think that's a big indicator of alignment is when you're having fun and you're in flow and you're relaxed and you're like, oh my gosh, and the time's flying. Oh, yeah, you're in alignment with whatever is good in your life.
Yeah, just not no cruel pranks. That taking it too far.
They're not your plaything. People are not your playthings, and if you think that, then you need some sort of robot or something, not a real person who has real feelings and needs and, desires of their own, which leads into number 3, the boundaries and alignment. This is a big one for me. This is so important.
Yes, with boundaries and alignment. Early in a relationship, definitely need to talk about boundaries. What things are good what things are okay with each other, and what things not to do at all. If you don't set those up ahead of time, and you get farther into a relationship, and all of a sudden somebody steps over that boundary and blows up because the other person had no idea that was a boundary, then communication, back to step one, was already thrown out the window. So the boundaries should be communicated early in any relationship, and even throughout long marriages. Boundaries may change, things like that. Always talk to each other about those boundaries. If one thing was okay 5 years ago, but you're not really too sure about it now, voice it. You don't want people stepping over a boundary or anything like that, you know, and causing a problem that they didn't even know existed in the first place.
Exactly. And that communicating the boundaries thing, don't try to use your boundary communication as a way to control people. Boundaries are rules for you to protect your needs and energy, to make sure you're not feeling resentful of the things that you give, because resentment and contempt are relationship killers. You need to be very wary of these. These are the big demons of relationships. Are resentment and contempt. If you don't care how another person feels, you don't care what they think about, your relationship is already on its way out. You shouldn't even be in it. You should be like looking for like something else. Either that or readjusting yourself to why don't I care? Is there something wrong? Do I need to focus on me? Am I frustrated? Are they actually doing something? Or are we so misaligned that it's over with? It's not 100%. This is a case by case thing. This is very personal. It's very system situational, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
System, yeah.
absolutely.
So, you're not always going to have, the same emotional state. Sometimes they're going to be going through something and you're not. Sometimes you'll both be going through something at the same time. Oh, isn't that so much fun when you're both dealing with something? And like
Yeah.
you and I have both been going through something and we're trying to deal with ourselves and with each other.
Yeah, it definitely makes it interesting when those times come up because you're trying to, stay supportive of the other person, but trying to, work on yourself at the same time. And it kind of gets, chaotic in yourself. And and that makes it more frustrating in some ways.
Definitely. And you just have to try to understand you're not always going to get it right. Sometimes you're going to get mad and yell at each other. Try to run the interrupt when that happens. Try to just stop, pause, breathe, recognize that you're just in a little bit of a system error. And it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the relationship. And sometimes a lot of us are going to have those associations that if things aren't absolutely perfect, the relationship is over, right? And especially, if you haven't fully adapted to each other yet and recognized each other's patterns and started to sort of, your bodies and minds become cohesive over time if you're staying connected. Like if you're still maintaining passion and romance, if you're still communicating, if you're not going off to other people, which is a problem, you do not need to be talking to other people about your relationship. You need to be talking to your partner about your relationship. The only time other people should be involved in your relationship. And this, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say this is what it is. I've never seen it to be any different. Convince me otherwise if you think you can. The only time other people should ever hear about things from within your relationship is if you are in a domestic situation which you are trying to get out of. You are ready to leave and you're scared and you need help. Or if something is happening and you're not sure if it's a bad thing and you need help. If things are bad in that way that you feel unsafe, you need to be speaking to somebody about it, the right people, not your family, not your friends. You need to be talking to a professional. What is the situation and what can I do?
Yeah, seek a therapist for that point. Um, don't try to bring family or friends or even past relationship people into it because they will always take one side and give you terrible guidance. They'll just say, walk away. It will be fine. You'll be okay. You're better off without them. Whatever they say, they're not looking out for anybody's best interest except their own. It's a totally selfish thing to do. So don't look to them for guidance. They're actually the worst possible explanation. Seek therapy. That's always the best thing to do. If a therapist can't offer a solution in any way, then, maybe it's our time to move along. But don't try to go to outside people that are not professional and trained properly to deal with that situation. You're always going to get the worst possible advice.
Yeah. And if you're worried that, your spouse or significant other, your partner, whoever is, you know, maybe having some sort of mental health issue and you're not sure what to do, start researching. If you're not really ready for the therapy route, start researching, understand what you're dealing with, and understand that it is not your job to fix them. You're not fixing anything. You don't fix each other. Okay. You recognize that there might be a situation and you offer support and encouragement. You don't try to change or fix another person. That is not what they're there for. They're not a robot for you to program. That's to me, that's actually like if somebody comes in and says, "Oh, you should dress this way," or "You should think this way." The automatic thing I think is, "Are you trying to come in my house and move my furniture?" Don't do that. You know?
Right. The main thing on that part is somebody's feeling a certain way, and they're not communicating. Just try to ask maybe some mild questions. Say, what is bugging you? Help me to understand the state you're in. Sometimes even understanding it will help push it along some instead of having to, seek anything else outside. If there's no understanding at all, then it's not like they can even offer a little bit of help. So going back to communication and understanding, you need if somebody's feeling a problem, going through a rough patch, just try to get a small understanding of what's going on. That way, a little bit of sympathy might, help step in and say, okay, I understand you're going through a hard time. What can I do to help?
Yeah, be there for each other.
Instead of just going, well, you're acting irrational. Leave me alone. You want to find out, is there anything you can do to help? Is there anything that you can do just to help alleviate some of that? Sometimes it might be just as simple as going, to another room and giving that other person some quiet time. Just letting them work it out within themselves. That's fine too. Don't sit there and pester and ask questions nonstop until they get angry about it. Say, hey, is there anything I can do to help? Is there, what's going on? Help me to understand. And if somebody says, no, I just need a little time to myself, give it to them. Let them come to you when they feel they've had enough time to themselves. Don't let it drag out too long. I mean, if it's something that takes days and days, that's already a problem.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like if it's more than like a few hours, maybe, because then you don't take that long to decompress your nervous system, you know? And then it's like, okay, now they're just repressing and not communicating and shutting down and maybe just disassociating, you know. And now it's time to open up the communication walls.
Yeah, at that point, you got to worry about whether they're going to burn the house down around you or not.
You never know. But that's the thing too. You want somebody that you trust, that you respect, that you feel can work with you through things like this. You don't, and it's not anyone's fault when things like this happen, but a lot of the times people simply aren't ready for a real relationship. They don't have the skills, they don't have the understanding. It takes empathy, compassion, awareness, particularly self awareness and self regulation, because a lot of the times these, media and TV shows, TikTok even makes people think that it's just
No.
something you can order online. It isn't. This is a skill based system that is very, very intricate. And you do have to be careful and you do have to be very open and vulnerable, but at the same time, not expecting too much. It takes a lot of strength, I would say. It takes a lot of strength of character, a lot of strength of skill as far as social skills and understanding to make a relationship that actually feels good on a daily basis. And that's the goal, isn't it? Not just to have one. I mean, I've known lots of miserable relationships that have lasted for decades, and I'm like, decades of suffering. Yay.
Okay, don't want to go through that. Uh, but touching on, that subject of telling each other things, you don't want a partner that if you tell one of your deepest, darkest secrets to, that's going to come back and use it against you. You want somebody that's going to use that to get a better understanding of you. If they try to pull it against you and use it in some way that's not conducive
They're
to your
not your
proper
friend.
relationship, you should leave immediately. Um, because that's not what it's for. Letting under them understanding your deepest fears, desires, or anything. Just the secrets you keep inside and you don't tell anybody else. They should be there to help there. They should be there to help either nourish that or understand it or anything else. They should never pull it back to use it against you later. If they use it as a weapon to hurt you later, especially in front of a bunch of other people, that was always the wrong person for you.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, you don't. You need to see yourself as a prize, but not a prize that's unattainable, if that makes sense. You don't want to just let anybody in your doors who, makes eyes at you. Just because they cut some eyes at you and like, oh, you're hot. And they give you a little bit of flattery and you're like, in love. No, 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 no. You need to vet a person. This is like entering into a business partnership. If you want a long-term relationship, like 20 years, like what we've achieved, where we're still happy and we still love each other and we're still excited to be together. Like I can barely wait till you get home from work. I'm like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, I'm asleep. you know,
Yeah.
sometimes it happens that way. I get really excited when you get home, and it's been decades and I don't even it doesn't even feel like that long, you know? It doesn't feel like that long because we're still doing it new all the time. We're still renewing it like every time we reconnect. It's fresh, but at the same time, um, kind of vetted. Does that make sense? Is that
It's
the word I'm looking
familiar but new in a way that we keep changing things so it's not the same old stale story.
Exactly. So we keep also changing ourselves in that way too,
Exactly.
because we keep adapting to each other, and it makes us adapt more easily to other situations outside of ourselves.
When the situation starts to get a little boring, we're like, okay, well, this is kind of running stale. Let's come up with a different idea and see if we can pick it back up a little bit.
Well, most people, the problem is they'll be like, "Oh, I have to find someone new. I gotta find a new romance because this one has gone stale." Because they don't have that preset, that assumption that if your romance is getting a little bit boring, that you stay with the same person and make that new again.
Yeah, find something. Don't switch people because then you're starting completely from scratch, and
God, you don't want to
well,
start over. Now, once you've got alignment and you're like really connected and really into each other, you don't want to start over like that.
younger people might think, oh, it's been a couple years, it's over. But then when you're pushing, an older age, 50, 60 plus for some people. Sometimes it's not about finding somebody new. It's about going, this has gotten a little stale. Let's try something to help just spice it up a little bit.
You do need both. You have to have both people participating in this. Like if one's not, I would
Absolutely.
still give it some time and just keep trying different things, maybe get therapy involved or programs. There's so many different options these days, even in therapy. Like, I think therapy is a great option, but there's more options than that. There's so many programs and coachings and all sorts of things online now, too. And you can do all sorts of things, like even maybe join a hobby together, go hiking together, cook cook food together, a cooking
Stamp
class,
collecting.
stamp collect something, something that gets you both excited to be together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does take both people. If only one person's working on a relationship, it's already out the door. Both people need to be open and willing to try whatever it takes. They need to definitely, feel each other out. Um, you know, again, communication, everything. It's all intertwined. If there's no communication, no both people trying to work it out or anything else, it's doomed from that point.
Compatibility of values, definitely.
Exactly. Um,
So, yeah, definitely like the communication, the appreciation, the boundaries. I think those are the three ingredients I think that have really foundationally, I mean, everything else sort of umbrellas under that
mhm.
have really made our relationship so amazing. And I'm so grateful for you. Like, I am so glad I married you. I
I'm
don't think I
grateful
tell
for
you
you
that like ever, right? I never say that.
at least 20 times a day.
A lot. I do, but I want you to make sure that you know from time to time because, you know, even our brains, neuroscience wise, we see time in packets, right? So people think, well, if I told them I loved them 6 years ago, they must know this, right? No, you need to keep refreshing that packet of information that keeps coming in. You need to make sure that your information about your relationship is in there.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it open. Never stop reminding each other how everything feels because that's the one thing that actually helps along the way. Just a simple "I love you" back and forth to each other is all it really takes. Even if it's just once or twice a day, depending. Depends on your schedule and your life. I know some people out there might, husband and wife might work opposite schedules and see each other maybe 10 minutes a day. Well, one's at work, one's asleep, or anything like that. Even little things, just saying I love you and 5 minutes of some sort of closeness will go a long way. Uh, don't lose that closeness at all. Always try to keep it going because that's one thing that's definitely going to help. As soon as the closeness starts fading, then resentment steps in and things start taking a downward spiral.
It is a balance. It is about keeping a balance because your brain naturally tends towards the negative. So you need to intentionally introduce the positive and focus on the things that you care about and love about your partner and de accentuate the things that, are just really silly and not that important.
Yeah, get rid of the bad, try to get rid of the bad things and definitely reinforce the positive as strong as possible.
Agreed. Well, thank you very much. Happy Valentine's Day, my love. I
Nonsense.
appreciate you joining my channel today and talking about our wonderful relationship. And I'm so grateful I manifested you and you manifested me.
Yes.
And we just continue to do so every single day.
Yes, we do.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe and sign up for the Method Muse newsletter in the description below.